long-term preservation of digital data. Just as tangible artifacts require a lot of care and attention for long-term survival, and they need constant conservation, preventive as well as curative, and there's a lot of maintenance that goes in maintaining or ensuring a physical collection with a museum and a gallery survives, and you're able to present it to larger audiences. So also is the case with digital data. Digital data's long-term management is equally now a part of running any kind of institution for that matter. Whether you are a museum and you're running outreach programs, or whether you're a library with a lot of scans of your rare books and things like that. Almost all institutions represented here would have huge amounts of digital data with them in various formats, and sometimes we don't always have a very good idea about how to look after and how to maintain that digital data and make sure that it is accessible to us in the long term. So I'm going to be presenting about a project that we started in April 2014. This is the National Cultural Audiovisual Archives. And the objective of this project was basically to identify and preserve the cultural heritage of the country available in audio and video form. There's a lot of recordings that are available of, of intangible cultural heritage of India, whether it is in terms of performing arts, whether it is documentation of fairs and festivals, of recordings of seminars and conferences and training programs like these ones. There's a lot of material which all of our institutions have, which has not been looked at with as much focus that it really deserves. Little bit of a history of audio and video recording. Audio recording technology started from the late 1800s, and video recording technology starts from around the middle of the 20th century, 1740s, 50s onwards. So we already have a huge amount of audio recordings, because it's about 120, 130 years that audio recordings have been made in various formats, and about 70, 80 years worth of video recordings in various formats. So this is a huge part of our cultural heritage and the documentation of our cultural heritage, which very easily gets overlooked at times. We end up saying that, okay, yes, we went to a site visit and we recorded a few things, and then we came back and we submitted it into a hard drive in the office, and that's where it is. But we don't always realize that these will become very valuable reference points at later stages. They could be historical reference points. They could also be very, very aesthetic reference points. So, for example, when people were starting to do conservation of architecture or conservation of monuments and historical precincts, they relied very heavily on earlier representations through photographs, earlier representations through video recordings as to what the monument looked like earlier. So if only when we have those kind of reference points, then we realize what we can do in terms of conservation, and where do we need to also sort of draw the line, because conservation of any kind is not making something afresh, right? You're trying to make it stand on its own with as much integrity as possible, with a historical reference or a time frame in mind. So audio and video recordings in that sense become very important tools, because that's the only medium through which you can record across the two dimensions of space and time. Otherwise, if it is a photograph, It's only a representation of a particular time. There is no movement, and it's frozen in time. But when it is a video recording of something, it is moving across both the dimensions of space and time. So in that sense, audiovisual tools are the most well suited for documentation of anything which is intangible. Is this clear so far? Am I making sense? If we are documenting any kind of musical performance or a dance performance or a theater, or for example even a festival, how many of you are aware of the UNESCO's intangible cultural heritage lists? So if you see that all the nominations there's a dossier which is prepared, and almost all the nominations have a very strong audiovisual component of submission. So you have to document that tradition in an audiovisual format to show that it is a living tradition, to show how it is being observed or celebrated to this day, to establish its continuity in time, right? So audiovisual mediums and audiovisual tools of documentation are probably the most well suited for any kind of intangible cultural heritage, and that is what we wanted to preserve through setting up this project, that everything that is available in audio and video form, we wanted to look at cultural institutions collections and put together digitization systems and storage systems for their long-term maintenance and preservation, and also run training programs like these to create more awareness about digital data and audiovisual data. And the target that we had set for ourselves in this project for the first phase was digitization of over 30,000 hours of audio and video recordings, which had been unpublished and were non-commercial in nature. And this is a very, very small percentage of what is available in our cultural institutions. For this project right now, we have 30 partners from across the country, 15 governmental partners, 15 non-governmental partners. And just those institutions' collections combined would be about 1 lakh hours. So what we chose and what we prioritized and digitized during this project is a snapshot of what is available in our institutions. And we need to look at that with a lot more care and attention, and not just as sort of add-on tools to our physical collections. Digital collections need different kinds of care and management, and it is equally important that we place equal emphasis on physical collection as well as digital collection. So this project was fully focused on digital collections, and the objective was to digitize these recordings and make them accessible in the public domain. And we abided by the sort of philosophy of open access, whether it is the softwares that we have used, whether it is the web portal, whether it is the recordings. We've placed everything in the public domain for free streaming, both the audio as well as the video through our web portal, and I'll show you the web portal as well. So this was the basic premise, the objective and target of this project. I'm glad Professor Pratapanand Jha, the project director of this initiative, is also joining us. Please be there. So we have all kinds of archives which are our partners in this initiative. We have national level archives, we have research archives, and we have production and broadcast archives. These are the sort of three main typologies in terms of the archives that are there across the country. And this is the internationally accepted typology of the various kinds of archives. So what we are calling national level archives are basically institutions which work at the national level. So for example, where we are sitting right now, the Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts, or the National Archives of India, which is just across the circle on the same road, Jampat, or the Indira Gandhi Rashtriya Manav Sangrahalaya, which is in Bhopal. So these are national level institutions which sort of come under the central government and are mandated with a broad kind of framework of encouraging and to give patronage to arts across the entire spectrum. So these institutions have given platforms to visual arts, have given platform to performing arts, and of all kinds, really. So these are the national level institutions. The second, which is the largest group, is the research archive. These are institutions which are much more focused and are either focused in terms of region or focused in terms of genres or sort of subject focus. So, for example, we have an institution in Rajasthan, in Jodhpur, called Rupayan Sansthan, which was set up by Komal Kothari. And this is a focused institution in the sense that its primary mandate is the documentation of the lifestyle of Western Rajasthan and everything that it contains, from agriculture to performing arts to oral history, but it is focused on that Western Rajasthan region. So that is one kind of research institution. Another kind of research institution is Natya Shodh Sansthan from Calcutta, which is focused on theatre, theatre of various kinds, folk theatre, classical theatre, regional theatre, theatre in different languages. Similarly, we have an institution like Samvad Foundation, which is focused on North Indian classical music. So these are sort of research archives, research institutions, which have a very clear mandate, and it is often defined either by subject or by a particular region that they are catering to. And thirdly, we have institutions which have production and broadcast archives, which is